Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. I feel that she's reading me. I feel that she's picking up on my energy. I don't want to say it's creepy. I'm intrigued, but I feel like she's just plugging into me. It could be you. It could be you. It could be whoever. We all have energy around us, and that helps us heal. And I've experienced myself in terms of energy healing, quantum healing, metaphysics. She's somebody that does all of that. So if you're dealing with challenges in life, direction in life, she's got a modality to take care of that, whether it's numerology, whether it's card readings, whether you're dealing with stress and anxiety, all of that. We're going to dig into that today with Reverend Micaela Córdoba L, who joins us. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, Steve. Thank you so much for having me, and welcome to your Mercury retrograde.
Which, full disclosure, we had scheduled this for another time, had a tech issue. Yeah, I'm not even surprised. And add Mercury retrograde to somebody that deals in energy, and then you got those things going on. But then we had an opening to plug in here, so it's all good. But
it is indeed.
I know. By the way, before we even begin, curious, do you have any cards nearby?
I do have some cards nearby. Yes.
I don't know.
Do
you wanted to pull some cards at some point? Maybe we could do that as an example.
We could do that as an example if you like. I will grab them after we connect a little bit more, because then I'll actually be able to pick up on your frequency.
Sure.
You're still very new in my consciousness, so that usually helps.
Well, I'm going to say here, you have my full permission to enter my energy field. Just, let's get that out of the way. So
yes, let's get that out of the way.
So in terms of what you do, there's intuition, there's energy healing. Let's talk about the things that you can help people with, whether it's PTSD, whether it's trauma, identified anxiety, depression before, blocks in life and things like that. Things that I'm missing there that you help people with. What are they?
Well, it's a great question. It's also a really broad question because specifically, the challenges that most people are facing are, that they tend to repeat the same situation. They're repeating, a relationship. They're repeating, a trauma, which they haven't identified as a trauma. They are coming up against the same challenges, a lot of my experience in the past has been working with people who are kind of stuck and are trying to get over being stuck, whether it's in work and that they're not satisfied, making a lot of money, really, really financially secure, but they're unfulfilled, or, in transition from wanting to be in a situation where they've been financially secure to finding more emotional or energetic freedom, which is not brought to them in the position or the field that they've been in for 10, 15 years. So, when somebody does find me, I'm usually I like to say I'm, they call it, holding on to the end of the rope before you fall off. That's usually when somebody discovers me or comes across my website or, gets referred to them. I get referred to them as they're hanging on by the end of the rope, and they've tried a lot of other modalities or they've been in therapy for a long time. Things have not worked out for them in terms of releasing or shifting their frequency and shifting into what they've needed. So here I come along, and I'm not a traditional Gestalt therapist. So talk therapy for me, or I like to call it a spiritual or psychic, session, is a very active process. It's a very, sort of sit down on the ground, dig in to what is really on an energetic level happening with you, and then bringing voice to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And you know what we're going to do? I'm going to I have so much more to ask you. We're going to take a short break, and I want you to go dig those cards out.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Okay, if you're okay with it, let's just do it. Do you have your cards with you?
I do. They're nearby. I
right.
could reach them with my little hand.
So let's give a mini card example how this might go. Is it tarot or oracle that you got?
I work with the Rosh Tarot, and the Rosh Tarot is the Aleister Crowley deck. I've been using this technology since I started my practitioner work, which is 25 years ago now. I started reading before I started actually seeing clients. It's a very subtle tool, but it is very powerful. It's very efficient. Usually if the client or my patient is open to connecting with their subtle light body energies, this is a very good tool to utilize. I also utilize divining and pendulum work as well. So asking a question of the divining shells or a pendulum will work just as efficiently as this. A card actually fell out when I was shuffling them right now. So that's the card that I'm going to pull for you. I don't know if you had a question about this or if it was what was in your consciousness, but I pulled the 9 of Cups.
And I want to tell you, and I can see that there's two things in my mind. I'm going to pick. Should I focus on one that I want an answer to?
I don't know. You don't need to focus on one. I already have the answer.
Steve, shut up. Okay.
Yeah, be quiet. Be quiet. Let me tell you. Are you ready?
Go.
So this is the 9 of Cups, and it connects. Cups are connected to emotional energy. So it's energy that you're either receiving or ready to receive. It fell down and it fell out of the deck, which means that you're ready to fall into your happiness completely in the next 9 days or into the next 9 weeks and into the next 9 months. You're going to be receiving happiness, something either that you've been working on for the last 9 years or 9 months or 9 days, or something that happened when it first happened to you around your 9th year. So this may be a degree of happiness that brings you happiness and has since you were a child. I don't know what it is, but the reality around emotional energy is that you're willing and ready to receive it. You're accepting the happiness on an emotional level. So that may be a transformation from the past with you, where, happiness is not so sometimes easily received, especially by men. There's this whole communication around what's masculine, what's feminine, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable. Men often in our society here in the United States, this is not as I've seen overseas, but here in the United States, there's often this discussion of like men being, really machismo, very unable to accept or receive happiness and be jovial or be in a pleasing and experiential process. So that happiness is something that's going to push out or reflect and radiate in your life. And it's you have accepted it. It's not completely in action yet, but it's stepping into your reality within the 9 days, 9 weeks, 9 months moving forward. So
I'm gonna think about that, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you in terms of being open to accept it. I'm at that point in my life. I get what you're saying. Almost waiting for it to show up. Feel that whatever it is right there at my fingertips, but it hasn't materialized or hasn't come into my field yet. The 9 years
Yes.
old thing, I have some theories, but I got to think back to that.
Okay, good.
Interesting. Uh, you know, my
Yes.
I wish there was a finite, excuse me, answer where it's 9 days, 9 months, 9 weeks. That it was more, but we don't know. It's just the nine of cups.
Well, that's why I said it's a very because it's a minor arcana card, trumps cards or a major arcana card show up, they're a lot more deliberate and a lot more exacting. Emotional cards or I should say minor arcana cards like the cups, like the discs, like what it is to actually step into an emotional or physical reality, they're a little bit more amorphous, if you will. So yeah, it's a tool.
Mhm.
I use many tools. I utilize quantum tools. I utilize earth-based tools. I utilize natural tools in order to work with the subtle spiritual and energetic and luminous field. For me, tools or herramientas, as we like to say in Spanish, are very helpful because it works and connects the body to a higher degree of specificity. And it's not, it's not a pill or a drug. So they're constructively more accessible for the subtle body than, Western pharmacology is.
And there's a place for that, but I'm not a fan unless you absolutely need it. Exhaust
I work in, yeah, I
everything
was
else.
going to say complementary medicine. Complementary
Okay.
medicine is great, which is what I do. I think I think that complementary medicine is where I believe most people are working to become more accepting of in their process and in their path. Instead of being like, let me call the doctor right away, they're like, oh, what's going on? Maybe I could, do something naturally. Maybe I need to like drink more water. I keep getting headaches. Maybe I should stop eating so much sugar. My energy keeps dipping. Maybe I shouldn't drink so much coffee. Sort of all of these things that, complementary medicine, I believe, is becoming more the norm. And when I was training to be a Western doctor, 30 years ago, I had a shift in my life and my process where training to be a Western doctor wasn't an option for me anymore. So I started the process of learning what it was to heal somebody, including myself, without using Western medicine, without using allopathic medicine, and aligning myself with more alternative and traditional modalities. And I'm grateful because, I saw a trend before a trend happened. Now everybody is doing, or at least attempting to do what I do. And I find it, I'm not trying to laugh at anybody, but I like to say I'm an old G, I'm an old goddess. I've been doing this for a long time. So, a lot of the new, I like to call them the new kids on the block, not to, quote new kids, but, post COVID, I don't know how many newbies came to the frequency and to the Zoom universe, but I've been doing
I
this a
get it.
long time. So,
You're ahead of your
it's a
you're ahead of your
very,
time. You're ahead of your time.
I was ahead of my
Yeah.
time, and technically still am, which is really
And I can
interesting,
tell I've spoken to a lot of people that do what you do. Everybody's different, but similar quantum
Yeah,
healing. You're plugged in,
yeah.
very clear to understand. And I did work with somebody years ago who launched a celebrity who launched a nationwide metaphysical website. I was part of the launch. It was great, except it was ahead of its time,
Except
ahead of
it
its
was ahead
time.
of its time.
And people accepted it, but not to the point where it would have gotten the notoriety. I mean, it was on radar for sure. It was big. But it was just ahead of the time. I feel that more people are
Right.
open to all of this.
Agreed.
You doing that card reading, and thank you for that, has me wondering. I don't doubt it for a second. I'm even thinking the number 9. Should I keep that on
Yeah.
my mind? Where, you know,
Yeah.
potentially would I see 9 showing up? And I know you do numerology, and I'm not even going to take the
Yeah.
time to go into this, but the number 7 and
Yeah.
11 has shown up for me and has made a lot of sense in many different ways in the last month. Big, big
Okay,
to the
that's
point
really
where,
good. Those
but
are
I think,
angel numbers. So if if you keep seeing the same number over and over again, you know, the double number and then the 7 number, both of those numbers are, you know, those are angelic codes. So essentially, you know, you're getting a blessing. You know, sometimes when I see like it's about to be, if we're still on, it'll be 111. You know, and I always see 111. I always see 222. I always see
Sure.
333. I always see 1234. You know, like these are all the consciousness of what it is to actually be stepping your consciousness into another dimension, or the 4th dimension, which, you know, we're here on the 3rd dimension. This is the Maya plane. This is the plane of Earth.
Mhm.
You know, so it tends to be very dense, you know, but when you're noticing numbers, you know, your consciousness is, you know, fluid. So it's allowing your brain, or I should say your spirit body, is connecting with your higher self and going, look at the time right now, Steve, check it out. And you looking at 711, or you look, it's 333. You know, I like to say a little prayer. I say a little blessing to whomever I want to send the blessing to, and hold that blessing in your consciousness for the minute. Some of my patients, they know that I'm into this, so they'll send it to me as like a, hey, 111, smile next to it, you know. So, you know, it's very interesting to be connecting with your highest self.
And I totally
And
get what you're
that's
saying.
what I do professionally.
We
Yeah.
could do an entire podcast on dimensions. You know, take me to the 5th, please. And there's nothing wrong with seeing 111 or 1111. I'm feeling deeper than that. I get signs from a relative that passed away with these numbers in different formation, and they all come to 711. And just to your point, I'll share with you, 11 is my life path number. And this was before I realized any of this, but like I moved almost 2 years ago. If you add up the numbers in my address, it comes out to 11. It's just
Interesting.
but it's on my radar now where it wasn't. So, you know, by the way, I feel like I'm in the 3rd dimension today with everything going on. Not you, but everything.
It's
Get me back to
that's
go to the 4th.
that's Mercury retrograde for you. Yeah, that's Mercury retrograde.
Well,
for you.
okay.
The communication challenged by that.
You know what, Micaela? Interesting point. Retrograde means back, going back, retro. So if you felt like you were in the 4th and things were pretty good, you know, feeling okay, you feel a little more spiritual in touch, then you feel like you're back in the 3rd. Thank you, Mercury retrograde, for for bringing us back there. You offer so much. Do you feel that you are intuitive?
That's a good question. Do I feel that I'm intuitive? Well, I'm an empath. So intuition kind of goes, you know, literally it's like if you had a hand, it's like 4 of the fingers on my hand and 1 is not, you know. So intuition, or being able to have the gift of sight, is something that I was born with. I didn't fall into it. I've always had it. A lot of my reality has, in the last you know, 15 or 20 years, been about attuning that psychic energy, or attuning that empathic nature, and learning the protections and the tools to support and balance my nature and my energy, and also learning the abilities and what they are able to actually connect with, and how to be of support and or service with them. So that has been a very interesting journey, especially around the communication of remembering and having almost like a, I guess you would call it, people call it a photographic memory, but mine is more like didactic or experiential. So if I have a communication with somebody, and then 6 months later, I connect with them again, and they are telling me about something we talked about 6 months ago, I'm like, yeah, you remember A, B, C, D. And they're like, how do you remember that? And I'm like, I can't tell you how. It just is the way it is. So a lot of us are dealing with an intuition and or a gut feeling. A lot of people call it my gut feeling. You know, that gut feeling is, again, that access to your higher self, that access to the other dimension, and bringing in your, you know, the necessary tools so that you are able to move forward with more clarity, and not doubt or worry or fear or anxiety, just to know that that's a major component of what I would call intuition. Empaths are a little bit different than just being attuned to your intuition. Empaths are actually, energetic or quantum frequency, supportive beings who are downloading, the mental or emotional energy from somebody that they're collaborating with or connecting with, or, even just standing across the street from. So it tends to be very overwhelming if you're new to it, or if you don't know how to handle that kind of energy.
I don't mean to cut you
Yes.
off, but we're out of time here with everything. I just want
Yeah.
to keep going. And to your credit, I want to say this. I need to say this. This is woo-woo for a lot of people.
It's a really good word. I love the woo-woo.
You make it understandable and digestible, where, oh, that tastes better. That woo-woo tastes better, as opposed to, I'm not going near any of that. Even we could do an entire podcast on gut feeling and intuition and all of that, what we feel, how you feel it. How do we find you, Micaela? How do we connect with you?
Actually, so I am on LinkedIn, actually, because ironically, I've been connected to that professional network for a very long time. And you could also find me on WordPress. So it's Micaela Córdoba .wordpress.com/services. And I have a really, what's so great is I have a Google page, and it's Metaphysician Mama.
Oh, okay.
That's me.
Metaphysician Mama. I love that.
That's it.
Thank you. That's really good. It has been wonderful talking with you. I know we had some tech issues, a little kind of crazy there. Appreciate everything that you offer. And again, I could keep talking with you. It's you're speaking my language, and for many, the language could be a little foreign, but you make it clear. But a lot of things, even talking about the different dimensions that we're in. So I appreciate it. Number 9 is on my radar for the rest of the day and week. And thank you so much. Really
Sounds
do
good.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Steve. Have a great afternoon. Thank you, everybody.
You too. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.